Morning.
Oh, yeah, still waking up. Although
Yep.
robots tend to get me excited, so that's working.
Yeah, we started talking about the humanoid robots that are starting to become practical, moving closer to practical and useful.
Mm, yeah. If they can use machine vision to learn new tasks and then do them, just through demonstration, then I think they'll become particularly useful.
Mm,
I was saying before that I think as weird it is as it is now, we'll start looking at them like the washing machine or dishwasher at a certain point. Well, they're
I
just a
think,
labour unit, a low IQ
yeah,
labour unit.
I think my bias towards uh, a higher likelihood of things going wrong. Like, okay, it's
Mm.
great. You have this robot that, when everything's working great, can do all these things, and what are the software glitches going to do? What's the update cycle going to do? Is it going to be constantly downdated, so you need to get the next upgrade model? Um, as you were saying, it's like we've got an aging population, and that's one solution in the Japanese model of trying to bring in robots to aid with caring for the elderly. But what about when there's a power cut? What about when something goes wrong and there seems to be two approaches to it recently. Like, there was that horror movie made where the artificial intelligence sort of child companion robot went mad.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that in Black Mirror. It might be a
Yeah.
Black Mirror
No, no,
episode.
it was a standalone movie.
Okay.
I've got the phrase Madeline coming to mind, but that might not be it.
I'm pretty sure I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Hmm. Like, there is definitely a fear of being consumed or overwhelmed by the products of our own hubris.
Terminator. Yeah.
Yeah, but in like Terminator's, here's after the apocalypse and here's trying to prevent it. This is more focused on the, okay, here is the robot. It's not just Skynet gains sentience and takes over, which is very sort of thing occurs.
It's like
It's
iRobot.
yeah, yeah,
It's a great movie. Not a big fan of
yeah,
Will Smith, but I like that one.
yeah. iRobot, but more closer to the present.
Yeah, where the early days, first one starting to appear.
Mm,
I think look, I agree that opens up new vulnerabilities, particularly with cyber warfare being a large part of modern war. That's going to make things pretty dangerous. Because all of a sudden you have a potential weapon in the home of every enemy
mm.
civilian. That's bad, for obvious reasons. Um, I don't think it's preventable though. Much like the smartphone, I don't think that even though we could sit here now and say these things have downsides, what if it doesn't work? How it built our entire society to rely on it. Agreed, but I don't think we'd be able to stop people from just buying them.
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen to us whether we like it or not.
I guess
And I think it probably will be a net benefit. I would say.
yeah, while things run well, yeah. I
Oh, that's
it's
always the
funny.
case. So is
I've got the
electricity.
same attitude towards it as people who are psychologically reliant on business as usual. Like, people who are heavily mentally invested in their house price going up,
Yeah,
and who have a bunch of things on hire purchase, or they have a car payment every month so that they can have an expensive car before they can afford it.
yeah. Auto
Um,
car payments still.
yeah, I'm a little bit debt averse, but like, one or two things is one thing, but building your entire life around that idea, like, The idea that your lifestyle is defined by how much debt you can service rather than how much you have.
Sounds like the United States.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not a bad comparison. But I feel sorry for the people in that situation. And it's like the biggest preparation for anything going wrong. And that could be high altitude nuke EMP, that could be solar flare, that could be earthquake, that could be hurricane or typhoon or big storm. Things do go wrong.
I agree.
And
You can't really blame people though for falling into that trap.
no, I don't think I'm blaming them. I don't think so. Correct me if you think I'm wrong on that.
No,
But
I'm just
yeah,
making that case that
yeah, I feel
these
sorry for those
people,
people. It's a
yeah,
pity,
but that
not a
they have lived in an age of plenty for as long as they've been alive,
yeah.
and they've been lulled into a false sense of security by all of the official narratives for as long as they're alive. So, you can go to them and say, well, what if this stops working? What if this happens? What if that happens? And most people are just going to go, well, that don't never happen. We
Mm,
won't get a recession. That'll never happen. We won't go to war. That'll never happen. The power won't go off. That'll never happen. As far
mm,
as they're concerned, it never has, really. They live in a styrofoam world, the padded walls, so they're not too concerned. And we live in a social safety net culture. Everyone has
mm.
this attitude of, well, if I'll fail, then I'll be fine. So what does it matter?
Yeah.
There isn't
If
actually a risk of death or failure.
yeah, if there's a disaster, it's someone else's responsibility to come help me.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about the Grok AI last night for the
Mm.
same reason. Well, he's released the second version and it has no sensor or guardrails. So people are making like exactly what you'd expect, all kinds of horrible images. And then they're
Mm.
turning around and complaining about how they had the ability to do it.
You didn't protect me from myself.
Yeah. I shouldn't be allowed to do this. Look at the horrible thing that I did. People shouldn't be allowed to do this. But you did it. No, but I shouldn't be allowed. Why am I allowed? It's their fault that I did it. But you did it. I didn't tell you to
Mm.
do it. Why'd you do it? It's
Yeah.
yeah, we're not used to responsibility.
It's a bit like with that Elon Trump interview that happened recently, that there was some guy from the European Parliament who wrote an open letter to X
Yeah.
reminding them that they had to follow the law.
Yep. Yeah, you better not do any hate speech in that interview.
Who defines it then? The
Well,
perennial.
this is why I'm very happy that we have someone like Elon alive,
Yeah.
because he's slowly taking over the world's internet service providing, and I think he will eventually. I think everything will probably end up being Starlink. That'll be good. Okay.
I'm 50-50 on that. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
At least a lot. Well, if you get to the point where you have a censored network and a not censored network,
Yeah.
the people who want the not censored network are going to go to Starlink. That's a good thing because he can cross borders.
Mm.
He can provide uncensored internet access to civilians in China if only they're willing to risk their lives to get it.
Yeah. How small can he get the receiver dish?
Exactly.
And then
Yeah.
people are going to
How
disguise it
well
and
can
hide
you
it.
hide it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's ways and means for that.
Mm.
One man can make a hell of a difference in the world, and we've been coddled by our technology for so long. Everything's been on guardrails.
Mm.
Every modern operating system, the exception of Linux, for the last 20 years more, has just been sandboxed crap. You can only do what you're allowed to do within these boundaries. And if you ever try and go outside of that, it grumps. Like
Wonder if
modern
that's
Windows and modern Mac OS and even phones, of course, they're not going to let you just download something from the internet without changing settings.
hmm.
You download an app or a program from some web browser you found. It's going to go, oh, this wasn't from my store. How can you trust this? Kind of scare away people from installing programs that they don't vet and control themselves.
Like there is a risk to that, but it's like you have the right to
Mm.
take a risk. And I
Yeah,
wonder if
it makes these tools less powerful. I wonder if
like
AI is going to be like an unlock key for that.
maybe. But we were talking about system one, system two thinking
Mm.
last night because we're recording the morning after, so probably a week ago for whoever's following along, if anyone. But
Family members.
I wonder if the guardrails desire is linked to system one, system two, in the sense of if you are
Mm.
using or comfortable with system one type thinking, then and we're incentivized to think like that these days and taught to think like that. So it's only the people who can't think like that easily who don't. Then you want the guardrails, you want the consistent environment.
Mm.
Whereas if you are system two, then you're thinking about your thinking. So Terry Pratchett had this thing in one of his books that he called third thoughts, or a character had them, which first thoughts are your thoughts about the world. Second thoughts are your thoughts about your thoughts about the world. Third thoughts are your thoughts about your thoughts about the world. And
Yeah.
so this character had, you could say, voices in her head about it. She had several layers of thinking. It's like, oh, it's very interesting that I had this response to my thought about that.
Yeah, you could just go down that rabbit hole forever if you're not careful.
Oh, certainly. Too much recursion would lead to chaos, but
Mm.
like the if most people are in first system thinking just running their algorithm and developing their algorithm rather than consciously interacting, then they want the simple solution,
Mm.
the low calorie, the low investment solution, which is evolutionarily advantageous in many ways. Because as we were talking about last time, it's faster and more efficient.
Perhaps
If
that's why they want to remove sources of danger.
because then you can be more efficient.
Well, they don't like the idea of people having weapons. These generally the same people.
Mm.
And unrestricted technology is certainly a weapon. Like even the AI image generator that's been unrestricted is like immediately being used for very spicy political memes. Like very spicy. I think the poster of it at the moment is Trump and a pregnant Kamala. They look very happy together. And it's
Oh
lots of
man.
stuff like that. It's lots of stuff like that. Like the another one that I saw was like a security camera photo of Trump committing armed robbery in a suit, like with a shotgun on his shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. And then it'll start making video, and then it'll be photorealistic, and then you can't trust anything.
Yeah, well, Sora is already there on the ChatGPT side. Like there is a studio that I heard about in Hollywood that closed because they got a private demo of Sora. And the guy who runs the studio was like, right, I'm closing. I'm firing everyone immediately. I'm not
Okay.
waiting another 6 months to pay out all of yous for no reason. As soon as
Mm,
this comes out, it's over. I can make a movie at home in my laptop.
mm.
And I was like, okay.
There was a thing I saw recently, looking at some photos of a Kamala campaign rally, and there was one photo with people waving and taking photos and so on. And then there was this other one. It's like, hang on, why do all the screens on the phones have blue squares on them instead of a picture? And what the hell is up with that hand? And so on.
Yeah, it's coming.
Like, yeah, it's like,
Mm,
oh, that photo's AI.
yep. It's like a lot of it's being used to scam people at the moment. I think
Mm,
you talked about that idea of like, look at this poor starving African child. Can you give us
mm,
some money, please? Yeah, it's got like 6 toes or something.
yeah, yeah.
I think that it's going to be dangerous times. Like, everything about this topic just brings me back to Cyberpunk the game, because
Mm,
it's a great exploration of how that system might end up working. It's not working well, like it's not a nice environment, but still, it's not something we can stop. I think fighting technology is a waste of time
mm,
unless you are going to go full totalitarian and control the planet and every human being on it, which is not morally justified. Adaptation is the only answer. And for most people, everything on guardrails. Those same people will get upset when other people have it off guardrails. But we're training people to be irresponsible by
mm,
having everything on guardrails. Like, imagine if for the last 20 years we didn't make safe operating systems. Yeah, imagine if we made Linux style ones where if you put in the wrong command, you could brick your computer by accident, or just hose all your files, or whatever it is. People would be more careful with what they do. Like, the amount of times I've watched people try and do something on their system. People I'm thinking around me, I've got some that are older, I've got my wife, and I've got friends' kids who should be technically literate, but they're not at all. And they have a problem, or they're trying to install or set something up, and they go through, classic style wizard. Bunch of boxes, bunch of text options, check this, tick that, yes, 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 whatever. And I just watch them do it, and they just click all the way through. They don't read a single thing ever. They click all the default options as fast as possible. And then it doesn't work because they click wrong options. And they go, oh, why doesn't it work? It's stupid.
mm.
And it's insane to me. It's like, wait, hold on, wait. What did you just agree to? Oh, I don't know. Why? No, you had a list of options on what you were trying to do, and you didn't listen to any of it.
There's a fallacy in there. It's, what's it? If no one ever sees a bear in a forest, no one will carry bear spray. And then a bear shows up and 5 people die. If every now and again someone sees a bear in the distance, pretty much everyone will carry bear spray, and those 5 people won't die.
Right.
Or maybe one person will. And then people will react. It's like in Alaska, I think, or like definitely in Svalbard. It's like you must not leave the house without a gun because the
Mm,
bear will get you or might get you, and we see them every other week and so on. So it's like the danger is there, so you're ready for it. It's like wearing a seatbelt. Like
too
it's
safe.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
if you wear a
idea.
seatbelt, you drive more recklessly.
Mm,
That's
there's
something that blew
no.
my mind when I learned, is that we human beings have a a preferred risk level.
Mm,
And if you make things safer than that, we will behave in more risky ways to bring it back to that optimum balance, because through risk you learn, through risk you gain rewards.
it's
You
Jeter's
make things
paradox of
too
safety.
Yeah, if you make things too safe, people act irrationally in order to make it unsafe again.
Mm,
The safer you make a car, the less safe the person will drive in it. The more safety features, the more seat belts, the more irresponsible the person driving is going to be. Less
mm,
likely to check while they turn, more likely to speed, everything.
yeah. So that there's a fallacy today that safety is costless in the sense of there's the immediate cost of instituting safety, like installing the seatbelts
That's great.
and
I love that.
encouraging the use, but
It's that attitude of zero, isn't it?
mm,
We must get to zero. Like I saw an ad the other day saying we must get to zero road deaths by 2030, and I just immediately facepalmed. One, you're never going to do that, and two, what the hell is the cost for trying to do that? You know how you get to zero road deaths? No one drives. That's how you do it.
mm,
Even then, it'll still happen.
because there'll be a tractor.
Yeah, someone will not listen and drive. Or if like
Someone
you
will
had to
fall
walk
off a
somewhere
horse.
or something, or the trains everywhere, whatever you want to do, someone's
Yeah,
going to jump in front of the train. It's not.
it's
I don't
formidable
know
drug
why.
fallacy.
I don't know why everyone is so obsessed with safety.
There's the idea
And the
that it's
dark part of
possible.
me immediately says because women vote. That's what it says. Safety is good when you're looking after babies. Safety is good inside the home. Not so useful when you're trying to do work outside.
There's the idea that we can beat nature, that we can bend the world to our whims. And when something goes wrong and someone gets hurt, then there's an impetus to prevent that. Like, if you go back to before anesthetic, it was assumed that there would be pain. It's just part of life. You deal with it. You try and avoid it where possible, but it's going to happen.
Mm,
Whereas over the last 100 years or more, like we've got antibiotics, uh, we've got birth control.
mm,
It's the idea that we can engineer our way out of the consequences of our actions, engineer ourselves
mm.
away from
That's good.
personal responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And create a system in which no person has to ever take responsibility, which is insane. That's like humanity's gift is responsibility. It's a yearning to be unconscious again. I read it in a book
Mm,
a while back about the development of consciousness, and part of it was that there is a struggle to a part of the conscious mind that yearns for unconsciousness once more.
because it's easier.
Yeah. Well, you don't, if you're not conscious, you don't feel pain. You're not suffering, you're not struggling, you're not stressing, you don't have anxiety, none of that. It's that
Even the dark.
idea of paradise before we want to go back.
Yeah,
No, we
exactly.
don't. Sorry, we can't. The only way out is to keep eating the apple forever, to become more and more and more responsible until we are personally taking charge of the universe individually. But there is a call back to unconsciousness. And I think it's the same drive that leads to suicide in its extreme. And I think it's a large part of why people want such a safe environment. I don't want to have to think. I don't want to have to think about the horrible things in the world. I don't want to have to stress. Someone else take care of me. You guys deal with it. Just let me go to my job and get my paycheck and go to the pub and not have to deal with any of that. And I'll go to sleep and I'll keep doing that forever until I die because I don't want to ever face the troubles of the world. And I think a large part of the population is like that. Hence why people don't care about politics. Doesn't matter how dramatic people get, everyone's like, "Oh, I don't wanna yeah, I don't wanna talk about that. I don't wanna think about that. I don't wanna turn the news off." And then you have some people who can't stop thinking about it. Probably back to system 1 and 2.
Mm. On the system 1 and 2 spectrum, you've got people who can't turn off the awareness,
Mm.
and you've got the people who basically can't turn it on. But then the easier life is, the more people will tend towards unconsciousness. But there's an underlying stress in that like there's a something's wrong sense when you
I
do that.
think there's a something's wrong sense for system 2 thinkers, but I think if you're truly an unconscious style person, then I don't think it bothers you at all.
Yes, yes, but in the middle, when
Mm.
you have a
If
choice,
you have a choice, yeah.
if you deny your conscience,
Yes, I think
oh,
people yes, it is. It's exactly denying your conscience because your conscience is the voice of responsibility. Um, I think people in the middle who will end up going towards the life of unconsciousness end up depressed
yeah,
because they become the hedonist type people. They're trying to drown their sorrows, buying things, drinking, eating, bougie lifestyle, everything that they can get their hands off to make them feel better. And there'll always be a gnawing feeling in them that they're not good enough.
mm,
Like even I get that. I feel like partially me being out here is doing a little bit of that running away. I just don't really have a path to get back that easily.
mm.
I had a thought about the system 1 and system 2. I learnt when I was a kid about subvocalization. I'm assuming you know what that is.
Sub localization or sub vocalization?
Vocal.
Ah, okay.
That's the voice in your head.
Oh, I thought it was you were referring to when you the type of speech you can do if you've got a bone mic, and so you're not
No,
actually vocalizing.
no.
'Cause,
Subvocalization is
mm,
um,
in a
the
monologue?
idea of inner monologue. Yeah,
Mm.
and that 50% of the world's population doesn't have one.
I feel like we need to allow for people who don't think in words but still have an inner thought process.
Perhaps
But
I'm not.
I
I'm not
agree with
saying that they don't, but
but
uh, that is certainly a question that comes up immediately.
mm, but the
For a
point that you're
person who is
making,
a sub vocalizer who has that forever dialogue, and I
mm,
don't assume it's a spectrum. I cannot ever turn it off. Some people have it where it's off sometimes and on sometimes, and some people have it off all the time.
an inner critic possibly,
I think
rather
monologue
than
works. It's just commentary on existence, thoughts verbalized,
in the
sub
sense of
vocalization.
in the sense of it's something that you can't turn off, so it's not exactly you talking. It's
It's just your thoughts spoken inside your mind. Thoughts aren't yours, really. They're a product of your mind.
I agree with what you're saying. My niggle is in the semantics basically of because I have a lot of unspoken thoughts and a lot of
I'm not saying all thoughts are spoken. Like you say, some people think in images.
hmm, yeah, or intuitions that are trying to be understood.
Yeah, and that would be
Hmm.
well, that would be subconscious thoughts trying to come up.
Yeah, and I have a lot of those.
Yeah, not yet articulated.
Yeah, in addition
But,
to
my,
the inner critic planning and criticizing, and yeah,
but as far as I'm aware, there's a large subsection of the population who never hears the voice ever.
yeah,
And to a person who hears it all the time, that is very hard to accept.
mm.
It brings up that question of like, okay, are they able to be system two thinkers? And if so, what are they thinking in? How do they speak even? Like, how could they think before they speak if they don't think in words?
Algorithmically.
But how would you be selecting? Well, yeah, algorithmically is not thinking. That's
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's my point.
Obsessed by an
I don't mean to
ideology.
deride people. Like, if you're one of those people listening, I don't mean to deride you, but it's very hard to understand from a person who has a voice that won't ever shut up.
I think someone who is a deep system two thinker in a war would get himself and his colleagues, comrades, fellow soldiers killed
Mm,
because he wouldn't be able to respond fast enough. He wouldn't be able to respond decisively enough.
be a good commander though.
Yeah, and there's what was it? If you're chasing the related concept that I'm trying to bring across of if you're chasing possessions, there's a distinction between valuable and hard to get,
Mm,
right? So getting an expensive watch, it's hard to get. It doesn't make
it's
your life
luxury.
better. No, it tells the time,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's a luxury good. It's a status signal. It's
Mm.
valuable because of its expensive cost.
But it doesn't make your life better. And similarly,
No, I
uh,
mean, you can make an argument, but to a point.
yeah, yeah. Like the principle being that rare does not mean more valuable,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
the
There's a
mindset.
boundary that crosses. You can have like $10 watch. You can
Mm,
have $500 watch. You can have $1,500 watch, and probably somewhere in there, there's a line that crosses between now you're paying more, and you're not really getting anything extra for your cost and craftsmanship. It just becomes a status signal after that. Like
mm,
as soon as you're starting to put diamonds in it or something, it's.
yeah,
But then again, there is value in status signals. So
yeah. And there's a lot of personal judgment on that. Like, I don't think
yeah,
I'd pay $1,500 for a watch.
yeah. Like I used to listen to someone as a kid, a podcast who he was a massive Apollo fan, and he wanted his whole life to get an Omega Speedmaster, which was the watch they wore to the moon.
Ah,
And they're one of those stupidly expensive watches, but it had value to him because of his association with the lunar program.
mm,
Cost as much as a car, I think, but it still had value to him.
mm,
It's a hard thing to judge someone else on those value purchases, but
yeah,
obviously we can all think of examples of people who went too far.
yeah. But the point I'm trying to draw from that is that strong system two thinking inclination, which is better for a commander, is not better. Full stop.
Yeah.
It's a different ingredient,
Mm.
and you can have absolutely terrible commanders who are totally system two thinkers,
Yes.
and you can have great ones, right? You need to be able to think in that way, but there is much more. It's not the thing that defines the value.
It's
It
not be all and
defines,
end all.
yeah, it defines where you can give value, not if you can give value.
Yes.
And
That's a good notion. Well, that's the Luciferian presumption
mm,
problem.
yeah,
Do not be presuming that just because you're smart or a system two thinker, however you want to say it, that you are therefore better at everything than everyone else.
mm,
It's not the case. It's really not the case.
yeah, I've been confronted with that at work, not unexpectedly, but I've been learning to weld, and it's like, oh, I understand a lot of the physics behind it. You take your electrical arc and you apply it to the metal, and you melt the metal together. Okay, now do it. Uh, and the way to do it, to learn how, is just keep doing it. Eventually, you'll figure it out.
Mm.
And it's like, there's stuff you can think about, like, okay, it's that sort of motion, and you're trying to get the weld pool to be that sort of shape, and you're trying to achieve this sort of dipping of the filler, because I'm doing TIG and so on. But it's not something that it's a system one type process,
Yes.
and system two can inform system one, but a system two thinker can inform a system one thinker. It's something that can be externalized.
That doesn't make the system one thinker a servant.
No, no. It almost makes the system two thinker the servant of the majority.
Well, it's that idea of that you can't have an ivory tower without a working class to put it on the back of.
Mm,
You have specialization in which system two thinkers can thrive and bring great advantage and leverage back to system one thinkers by developing tools or ideas, which are tools. But you
mm,
can't do that unless the system one thinkers provide enough safety and security in which specialization can occur.
mm.
You know, there are no universities without farms.
Yeah.
And that's my dilemma at the moment is I'm in a system one job and I'm a system two thinker. I love it, but I don't know if that's what I should be doing.
Mm.
It's just a difficult position. Financially, this is a better place to be, but it does feel a little bit like I'm wasting potential.
Definitely no easy answer for that.
Nah, I'll just be musing on that one for a while.
Mm,
Back to the technology thing,
mm,
I really don't see a way out. Like phones are not going anywhere. I think AI requires large amount of compute at the moment, but I don't think it will forever.
mm,
Like I think quantum computing is going to show up and force and merge with AI
mm,
because it's effectively the same type of. I can see that it could be useful. It's a hard bridge to gap. Quantum computing is quite hard to understand
mm.
the process of it.
I don't think that it will be voluntarily abandoned. I agree. I think that any abandonment will be without choice or
Yeah.
any.
Well, I think like you'll get a
Yeah,
small subsection that'll voluntarily abandon, for sure.
yeah,
But it's not going to be enough. Like you could integrate technology in any form of way. We're seeing a large movement away from cities and into rural life again, mostly because of the internet actually making cities be less valuable in
mm,
terms of connection with people, which is why they were valuable in the first place, an opportunity.
mm. There was actually that video I sent you. I'm not sure if you watched it. The guy who wrote Rich Men North of Richmond.
Oh no, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, Oliver Anthony's the name he goes by, which I think is his grandfather's name, but or the pen name he uses. But
Oh, okay.
he, one of the things that he's using his money for, like he's got enough money that there are no more leaks in his roof, and he doesn't have to work for the rest of his life, right? And
Jeez.
he's happy with that, and he doesn't
Wish I
want
could
any
make a
more.
song about that.
Yeah, he's wanting to tour the country, going around small towns only
Mm,
in the US and so on. But one
bring
thing
in some
he was
business.
exactly something that he was wanting to do was to buy farms so that people could learn to farm.
Mm, it's a bloody
And
good skill.
yeah, similar to what we were talking about a few shows back about how possibly to help people who are depressed from the
Ah, yes. Yeah,
house
yeah,
of
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and it's like there's a movement back in that direction, and it's not the back to the land hippie movement. It's a I want to do this myself. I want to take responsibility for myself and get away from
Yeah,
the
it's a practical, traditional movement. It's not new
mm,
agey at all. I think it's a call to masculinity as well.
and to redefine it in the sense of what does it mean to you? Like there's so much that's in flux in our current society. Like I don't think that a 1900s man transplanted to the present would be the role model that we need or the form of masculinity that we need. I,
Agreed.
there's definitely lessons to learn,
Yeah.
but who we each need to grow to become is both very personal and unique to our time.
I do wonder if there is a bit of a point through the feminist movement of, like, I've encountered older men in my life that still hold to an old way of thinking.
Mm,
And they're not pleasant people
mm,
at all. Masculine, sure, but it's not positive. It gives it a bad name. And perhaps there is a redefining that's needed.
yeah.
We've gone too far, we've overshot, and we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. And now perhaps there's a calling to redefine it, to bring back the strength without, well, the toxicity, for lack of a better term.
Mm. I could definitely see there being a backlash. Well, I think the feminist movement was the backlash to the kind of attitudes that you talked about those old men having.
Yeah.
Um, there's a definite possibility of a backlash against that. So then the pendulum just backlashes back and forward, which is no good for anyone. Um, but
Depends how much responsibility people take.
yeah, if we can have a negotiation, like the pendulum swing that you see is the loudest individuals who tend to be the most extreme in many
Mm.
cases. But an individual negotiation of, okay, let's try and figure out enough about each of our own inherent natures that we can come to uh, a collaborative cooperation.
And I think that's what's happening.
Mm,
Like, as far as I'm concerned, men and women both are sick of this narrative.
mm,
Men want to be men again, but they've also been raised in a way of kindness and politeness being acceptable and the norm. Like this idea of it is no longer acceptable to harass other people in the workplace. And I don't mean like females, I mean other men.
mm,
For the longest part in history, attacking each other and treating the workplace as pure competition and every other man as pure competition was the norm.
mm,
And I think that's changed now. I get a
mm,
sense that men have an attitude of constructive cooperation as the primary principle. We are
yeah,
here to do a job together, and
yeah.
that is more important than me getting a leg up over you or putting you down, which is the old attitude that's on the way out.
I think part of it is that you need to have a positive expression of that combative and competitive tendency. And the way I see it work at my work is that's what comes out at break time in the conversation. Like there was something that started happening recently was if if a certain phrase is said and someone's sitting there on their phone ignoring the conversation, then someone will come over and give them a punch on the shoulder or something. Like not with any intent to hurt, but just like, ha, you didn't notice, you're ignoring us on the phone. And there's that sort of banter. But then if you go to someone and say, "Can you help me with this?" Yes, I will take this seriously and we'll work it out together. Like there is an inherent nature which is ill-defined these days and a bit obfuscated, but that needs to be part of the negotiation. We are not blank slates,
Interesting.
but we are not predefined.
It feels like men are going back to an earlier time where we were more communal. My
Mm,
sense is for quite a while, men were very individualist and not a good sense. Hostile to other men, deriding of women. And now I get a strong sense of the younger men, particularly in my generation, I suppose, they're trying to do it right. They're trying to get the responsibility back that's been taken from them. But they don't want to bring back the hostile attitudes because it's uncomfortable and painful. No one likes a bully, I suppose,
mm,
however you want to take that. Um, but I've noticed more willing to listen to women in negotiation, but not be dominated by. I've
mm,
noticed in the workplace, and particularly, it's all constructive.
mm,
I haven't seen people trying to climb over each other. I've seen people going, "Look, I'm trying to do better to get this promotion. You are also trying to do better. Let's I'm going to help you and have it be a constructive environment." But there's strength returning in that as well.
mm. There was something I saw
Perhaps,
pointing out that
perhaps all of
virtues,
this feminist stuff, even though I went too far, is actually producing a good result. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, but the different sort of virtues and vices uh, can manifest in masculine and feminine ways. Like you can have a sensitive man and a strong woman. There's strong femininity.
Yeah,
There's strength in femininity, and there's sensitivity in masculinity. They tend to be um, implemented differently. Like the sensitive man, this is feeling out as we go, of course, but
yin yang.
encourages the strength of others. It helps
Yeah,
others to build themselves up.
there's compassion in it.
Yeah. Whereas the compassionate, sensitive femininity, I feel like is more let me make this space soft for you. It's
Yeah,
comfort. And you need both at different times and places. And in some ways, if you have enough of one, it can. You need, say, at least 10% of each, but then the rest is more variable. You can manage with less than the optimum of each if you have enough in total.
yeah. I think ideal would be probably 80-20 for each person.
Yeah.
It's the Tao idea, the yin yang. Man is supposed to be strong, combative, sure, but there
Mm.
needs to be compassion and caring in there as well.
Just
You
thinking about
can't
how
be devoid of a heart.
yeah, and there's overlap between those two styles too. They're not distinct. I'm just thinking of how I interact with my son as a single dad, who's his mum's not in the picture, so it's all me and
Mm.
grandparents and so on. But if he gets hurt, like his scooter had a wheel fall in a rut and he fell down and his glasses left a little mark on him there, and he just I sort of picked him up into a cuddle and he was just like so that I don't know what happened, I'm in a bit of shock right now type response. And so you just hold him. And there is a softness there, but it's a let me give you the space to become strong again. It's
Mm.
not, it's not a come on, toughen up. There's a
And it's not encouraging weakness either.
no, it's like there's that how badly hurt are you? Okay, you're upset. Let me give you some space to deal
Yeah.
with that safely.
Are you hurt or
insatiable.
injured?
Yeah.
Yeah, the diagnosis comes first, and then softness is acceptable response or not.
Mm.
Yeah, there's judgment before compassion.
Does that mean that in the feminine equivalent there is compassion before judgment?
I've seen it, I'm sure.
Mm.
Immediately rushing. My wife doesn't do this, thank God. She had a pretty strict father, so she doesn't have a lot of that immediate reaction.
Mm.
Still plenty of compassion, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that, but she will judge first whether the kid needs to be helped or not. And if
Mm.
not, pick yourself up, which is a good attitude, even for women.
Mm. But then, oh, yeah, there's a lot of overlap in these.
Yeah,
They're distinct, but they do overlap a lot. And understanding both those sides, like there's the temptation to say either there is no difference, which is getting
silly.
big these days in certain circles, or they are totally distinct and you should not be the other one. It's like, no, there is
Yeah,
overlap.
that's not healthy either.
Yeah.
You have to have a mix. All of one is too far, like the virtue being between two vices.
Yeah, that's something that's come up a lot.
I'm not sure where that's from. It might have been like Aristotle or something like that. Probably completely getting that wrong, but I remember it was someone like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I could do the research now, but
Nah,
it's something that
no
rings
fun's
true.
allowed on show. Oh well, I feel like we've waffled a bit, sort of losing the track.
Yeah,
Although we said that last night and then did another hour.
yeah.
Perhaps we just have a short one this morning.
Yeah, sounds good. Got some
Fair
things to
enough.
do, tea to finish.
Yeah, I want to relax with my day off. Back into
Yeah,
carving tomorrow.
projects to work on. Need to pull my multimeter apart because it started acting funny and see if I can figure out why.
I've been off for 3 days, so we've probably had another 50 carbs, something. It's getting busy out there for me.
How many cars total?
Oh, when I left Thursday, we had 50 heifers to keep, and I don't know how many bulls that aren't being kept. 40, maybe 50, probably about the
How
same.
many how many animals on the farm
Oh, to carve in total, 500
to
and something.
to feed?
500
Okay,
plus, something like that, roughly.
yeah. And how many people?
Um, three, really, three staff members. Yeah,
Mm,
technically some part time here and there, but not really. Our wives come out and help every now and then, and the owner's wife also does a bit. So four, four probably full time people, which is
mm.
pretty high, to be honest.
Oh, good. So it's not
Yeah,
too high a labour demand for the
yeah.
amount you've got.
My last place was 700, 750, and it was effectively two of us.
Mm.
You know, plus the occasional help from the boss, but it was useless. So it was basically just two of us.
Is the guy you were working with there the one who followed you to where you're working now?
I followed him, but yeah.
Ah, okay. Feel a little bit sorry for that boss?
Which one?
The one you left.
No, deserves what he gets.
Okay, okay, karma.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Apparently, it's not going so great over there, which we're pretty happy about.
Uh,
Small victories.
aim up.
Yeah, well, it's going pretty well here. Just got a lamb the other day, a lamb and a half. Very
In
yummy.
the freezer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very
From
yum.
My first thought was pet.
No,
Till he said
no.
yummy.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was something I've always wanted to do. You know, brought him into the shed over there. Uh, Killed it, skinned it, hung it up for a day or two. Came back, cut it up into bits, put it in a bag, went in the freezer, and then I cooked up some lamb chops the next day. Oh, yum! The best tasting food I've ever had.
So you only eat vegan? Only vegan animals?
I only eat vegans.
Yeah, I came across that recently.
Yeah, I'm a second hand vegetarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's good.
Uh,
I think over the years, if I get opportunities for promotions or pay rises, I might ask for just more animals instead.
mm,
I'd like to be able to, grow and eat all my own food from here if I could. We're probably thinking about putting a wee veggie guardian in outside, put a chicken coop around the back, and just start growing all our own stuff and, maybe getting a cow or two out of the herd and some sheep. Try and be off the land a little bit. That's the perks of being out here. I wish I could do both this kind of life and system two kind of
mm,
life. But you can't. I only
oh,
get farm perks for being on farm.
mm. There's this.
Yeah, I don't have rent really.
Mm,
You know, I can do whatever I like here because I'm far away from everyone. It's a hard choice. It'd be great if I could do full university level study at home,
mm.
but that's just people don't do that. That's not an option anymore. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Have patience, hopefully,
Yep,
and hope that I can last here. We'll see.
yep. Oh, maybe the rest of the world will make it an easier choice by becoming more chaotic.
I'd rather not. I'd rather things worked
Yeah,
and I could get an opportunity to go and do something better. But
I'm just
still,
pessimistic.
on both in bipolar sense.
Mm. Well, let's
Bit of
aim
double
up
think.
either way. Yeah, conscious doublethink can be useful.
Yeah, yeah. It helped prepare for bad things while also not being, you know, crushed by those
Mm.
thoughts.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Then again, I don't actually prepare that much. You do a lot more, so perhaps it is working for you.
Mm.
Oh well,
Yeah.
we should
Till
say
next
goodbye.
time. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oop, I pressed the wrong button.